He goes, no, just the tip.
Bro, tell me.
Hey guys, I'm Lonnie,
I'm Nad.
and welcome to
Bro.
Tell Me. And today we're going to talk about sex. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, but I didn't anticipate feeling like this uncomfortable about it.
Really? Because I anticipated you feeling uncomfortable about it. Because you've just been uncomfortable talking about it before. But let's get to the questions anyway.
Yes. The only way out is through, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we're going to be saying early impressions of sex from different parts of our surroundings, like family, friends, whatever. And then we're also going to talk about our own perceptions of sex and
Like the conclusion from all the input.
all the influence from around us. Okay, go.
All right. My early impression of sex from my family is it's bad. You will be disowned. You will become worthless to the man when you give it to them, and you will be left, and you will get STD on top of that.
That sounds really intense. I can relate to the being disowned thing though. Like, but my mom did it a little more gently. She would go,
Sleep on the side of the street if you have snacks.
no. She wasn't that explicit. She was just like, honey, no hanky panky, huh? And you like, it sounds like a gentle reminder, but that was a threat. That was the way she threatened me. Yeah, I totally agree with that one where it was taboo and like it was taboo outside of marriage.
The second is early impression of sex from the society. Go, Lani.
Go. Okay. So from society, like going through social media and stuff, it looks like sex is kind of or even just the idea of sex, right? Like sex not even being guaranteed, but just the concept of sex is the currency. Like you can buy it, you can sell it, you can get whatever you want with it, right? It's
As
just
a girl.
it's a transaction. No, even men, there are gigolos. Do not discriminate. Not that I've met any, but like, we know they exist. So sex is kind of like a transaction.
Okay. For me, I grew up like partially in Thailand and partially here in the US, right? So from Thai media, I kind of learned that sex was something to pleasure men, to give to men. And then in American media, I learned that it's like lusty, it's kind of like meaningless action. Everyone's just kind of give it freely. This is a free world. And but they are better at teaching protection though. I'll give them that. Just because it's such a free action, like meaningless action, like they're better at teaching protection. But at the same time, I learned from romantic movies that it's something to save to give to your one. Okay, so what was your impression from Friends?
From friends. Oh, like so from my family, right? I learned that it was something not to talk about. It was taboo, it was only for marriage. From friends, though, complete opposite. Sex was something to want to have. Like if you didn't want to have it, you were weird, right? And that you don't have to be married to have it. And so it was just like, oh, sex is this cool, mysterious thing that everybody wants to try to do, but probably doesn't know how to. So it started in middle school, my impression of sex from friends.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you telling me, I thought it was crazy too, because I knew I was a kid, but then the kids around me were having kids. Like there was a pregnant girl in my middle school. And there were people that were going to Planned Parenthood. Middle school. This is age what? 11 through 13.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I was just like, yeah, that's not me.
No, thank you. I feel like my exposure with friends was really different compared to you. My friends, and they still are, like you've met my friends, like they're very PG, so that's not something we talk about. All we did was like play cards and gamble. Like that was like the most taboo thing we did.
I'm like, but wait, gambling is also like not a thing my kids do. But I also did the same. We did play cards and we gambled at school during lunch.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we did. So it was never anything we talk about, and it's still not something I talk about with like that the group of friends that I grew up with. They're just very I think they're just very pure people. Like they don't talk like it's not something on their mind.
Yeah. You know, I had this mentality that sex was meant to be for marriage and stuff, or at least somebody special. And I was looking around and so I just assumed, oh, wow, these people must have found their person. I haven't.
Still applicable to today.
Thanks.
But no, I'm actually really grateful that my friends were like that because I feel like because of how I grew up with the dynamic with my family, I probably would have been influenced differently if my friends were different. So
Mm,
I'm kind of grateful that they were more kind of like innocent because it gave me like a very innocent childhood.
yeah, same.
Anyways, so what was your overall conclusion for yourself with all those exposures?
Okay. So all of the exposures, I think I definitely maintained that sex was meant to be at least, if not with someone you're married to, but someone that you have a special connection with, and that it was meant to be something romantic and something shared.
Okay. So for mine, it was something that you can't give too early because then you would be seen as easy. But once it's time to give it, it's something to be given to the men, like to pleasure the men, like your partner.
Mm,
So yeah, I resonate with what you said with like I did in my conclusion, I felt like I should be giving it to someone who is my partner, but not for myself, but like to like pleasure them, and I can't give it too early because then I would seem too easy.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So if you can tell, like none of these things like involved being mindful about what I want, what I feel.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
really submissive kind of thing, which is a
Exactly.
thing in Asian culture also. And I think that also resonated with me. I never really thought about who was meant to receive what for
Mhm.
sex. I just thought it was something between two people, but I think also my impression was that it was probably more important for the guy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I didn't
I
think
mean, mine was completely like, oh, it's for here you
like you're the
go.
present. Like I tied something up for you.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
And I'm like, yeah, no, I totally get that. Okay.
So the next question was, what made you decide that you were ready for your first time? And what was your first impression of it? Did it
Lol.
meet your expectations?
Well, my first time. I mean, I feel like everybody has a wild, not wild, but yeah, kind of experience, right? Like there's no
Right?
words, awkward, maybe not as special as you wanted. Uh, so my first time, I was with somebody. So we were already doing things. We just hadn't had intercourse yet. And I liked that stuff. We were in the act one day and he decides that he wants to put it in me. And I was like, oh no, I don't know. I'm not ready yet. He's like, no, it's okay. Like, just, and forgive, I was very naive. Okay. He goes, no, just the tip. There goes
Okay.
just the tip. And I'm like, all right. I have these faces because I'm just like, little Lonnie Bear, you didn't have to. And so it wasn't necessarily forced because I didn't say no and I didn't feel forced to, but in a way it did feel kind of like an obligation because like,
Yeah.
and I think it's similar with how a lot of women feel sometimes. And I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. I think it depends on the situation. I think it depends on the two individuals. But I'm not going to say I didn't like it, but I'm not going to say that I was 100% invested in it. And
Mhm.
so a little fast forward, it was more than just the tip.
Oh, really?
And we ended up having sex and we finished. And I just remember laying there on the bed thinking, I'm a slut. I said it out loud too. I said it out loud. I was like, I'm a slut. I'm a slut. He's like, what? I was like, I'm a slut. Like I remember repeating it. I know this sounds sad and you guys probably see this smile on my face. This is like not knowing what else to do with my mouth right now smile.
No, but like, if you don't mind me asking, like, how old were you?
I was 16 and he was also, so we were together. He was also 16. We were sophomores in high school.
What made you feel like you were a slut? Like, did you feel like, oh, I'm too young, or like this is not the one, or what made you feel like?
So I wanted to wait for marriage. Like I thought I was going to get married kind of young. I was into that fantasy, you know. And yeah, so I didn't wait till marriage and life sex.
Okay, I feel like my mind was similar, as in like I definitely didn't feel emotionally invested enough to have it. But I just felt like, I mean, it was my first relationship. I was 19 at the time. Everything I did at that time, because I felt like I was grown enough, I was mature enough, like to have my first relationship, to have my first kiss. So everything was calculated. It wasn't like, oh, like I feel enough emotion to do this, but it was like, oh, I think I'm grown enough, you know. And I feel like it was that time where, you know what I was saying about like you can't give it too fast, but it had been some time where I feel like, okay, well, I think this is time to like this is the right time to give it. So it's calculated. It's not like if I didn't like want to give it, but I was just like, oh, like look at the time. I think it's
Like, did you have a calendar set? Were you doing mathematical problems on a whiteboard just to be like, okay, I'm this age, we've been together this long. For some reason, geometry was also involved.
It was kind of like that, you know. It felt kind of like that. It was very calculated. I did have feelings for the guy, but definitely did not feel in love or enough feelings. It was just like a little like, oh, like I have good feelings about this person, and I just felt like, okay, well, it's time. So it felt like I was acting. Like it didn't
Mhm.
feel, I didn't really feel pleasured. I just felt like I was kind of acting, like, because that was my perception of sex, right? Like it was something to be given to the man, like to pleasure the man. So I felt like I was kind of acting
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess, did you have any thoughts leading up to it other than just, it's time? Like, ding.
I honestly feel like I did not. Like, I honestly just feel like, okay, I'm grown enough. And, you know, it was my first relationship. And in my protocol, or like what I think should happen at that time, it was like that time of the relationship where I feel like, oh, it's been like 2 months. Like, this is like probably like that time where I should probably give it to him.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I even decided to have that first relationship, because I honestly didn't even feel like I had enough feelings to have that first relationship. I mean, eventually, you know, I developed this like need for like validation from the guy, and then it felt like love, you know. But in the beginning, I didn't feel that. Like it was just like, I think it's time. Yeah. I don't feel like I was rushed into it, but I definitely also was not ready. I just felt like, okay, it's time to give. Anyways, how has your perception of sex changed over time? Because since 16 to like you're like what now, like 30.
Or
I always forget. I keep thinking she's 30 or 32, which is like when I met her, and I keep she's
stopped
like
aging when we met.
not age anymore. Okay. Yeah, so from that time to now, like what would you say is that change?
Well, I definitely don't think that sex is just for marriage anymore. I do also not think it has to be with someone special, but it is so much better when it is with someone special and that there is a connection. I think that there's not one right way to have it. I have so many thoughts about sex now. I love talking about the subject, but not in a way like I'm horn doggy. Like, I just like talking about it because it's a way for, I think, people to understand themselves and their needs and what makes them feel confident. Because when you feel like you know yourself and what gives you pleasure in whatever way, then you usually feel more confident about yourself.
Okay, so I think mine is a little different. I just wish that I was taught differently about it. I wish instead of told not to do it because it's bad, I wish I was taught to save it because it's so valuable. I've learned on this point in my life, and this does not have to apply to everyone, but for me, I've learned that sex is actually so valuable to me, and it's something to connect to people who already have strong feelings for each other. Like it can strengthen your love, but it cannot earn you the love, which is kind of what I was doing before, which I thought like, oh, it was time like to give it to like earn, excitement and like to be loved more in a relationship. But it's not that anymore. It's just so valuable that when two people love each other and they decide to have that connection through sex, it's so much more special, and like you feel every moment, and it's so my sex now compared to before is so much better because it's emotional and it's really two people growing with each other. And I also learned that, and I tell this all the time, especially if I have younger coworkers or someone who talks to me about sex. I'm like, hey, like when you let someone in you're exchanging energy with them, so choose your energy carefully. You can choose someone because it's lust, or you can someone because you want to feel validated, or you can choose to exchange energy with someone who loves you and they have good intentions for you.
So your perception of sex or your opinion of sex is complete opposite of mine. So
Yeah.
in my perspective, I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be with someone that you love completely. I think it definitely does make it special if you do love that person and you guys want to grow in that realm together. But people have desires, and I'm not saying that it's good or bad to have them, but what's most important is the communication about it. Like, what are you guys doing? What are the goals? Like, let's have a meeting before um let's get the bullet points. What are we looking to accomplish? We have objectives with our session. And so the importance of sex can also depend differently, or can also be gauged differently, the value of sex in a relationship, and depending on the person as well. Some people put sex at a higher tier than others. And I think that if someone thinks sex is more important in a relationship, even though they have a connection with that person and the other partner doesn't have the same amount, it's not going to feel as special for at least one of them, because either they're not being fulfilled at whatever their desires are, or the other person just doesn't feel the connection because the other person might be like, can we do it now? Can we do it now? Happens.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I can't say that like when I had my first time with my current partner, I felt love, like, I think real love, true love takes time, and not just like falling in love, but true, unconditional, pure, just good intention for the another person is, it takes time. I think it takes time. And I'm not even talking like months. I'm talking about like I think it takes years to develop that kind of love. Now, the level of love where you feel in love, that's really easy to develop, right? Like I think that's very honeymoon phase kind of thing. And I'm not saying that you have to be like unconditionally in love with that person, which if you wait till that time, like that's perfect. Like I'm not perfect, but that's good. Like, like then it makes it even more special. But if you can't because of whatever reason, like you decided to have it, I don't think it's wrong either, but just make sure that like I think what's important is that your intentions align with each other. Because I don't even want to say like you have to make sure that you have good intention for each other and you mean well to each other and you care for each other and committed with each other, like, because some people might not want that, but just make sure that your intentions, like you said, align. Like what you talk about, what you want, your commitment you're looking for, and the values of sex that you guys see, and see if that aligns or not.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to respect, like if a person, like they don't want to commit to a relationship and they tell you in the beginning, like they're not looking for it,
believe that.
Let them be. Yeah, exactly.
Don't think that they're gonna change because of you. Don't think
just
that.
because
like,
you gave them something that they wanted, like that's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But just don't try to change someone's mind.
Don't try to change.
Let them change their mind on their own, because no one likes to be forced to do anything they don't like.
True.
Oh yes. Also, I think the benefit of, and I'm not promoting promiscuity or promoting having high numbers or anything. But I think the benefit of still having sex, even if it's not with the most special person, is you could also discover new things that you actually enjoy that you wouldn't have otherwise discovered with your special person, because we all love differently, we all sex differently. So I think exploring a little bit, being curious is okay as long as you're safe about it, you communicate, and both parties, as you said, are aligned with intention.
Yeah, like I think exactly like that doesn't resonate with me, right? But it's all like I don't need to resonate with that. You don't need to resonate with me, but we have to make sure that like the person that we're planning on like
Being
being
with
in, yeah, like align with what
we want.
our value. Yeah.
Definitely. So I think that was all our questions.
Yeah, so that's it for this episode. We might have another episode because I feel like there's so much more to say about this topic. But if you guys have any questions, we're curious to know, like, what we think. Let us know below, and we will see you in the next episode.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.